A lot of the conversations romantically are with Faith, and a lot of the interpersonal relationships are with Fiona. He makes the world laugh, and what more can we ask for? And I, as his fake TV wife, I feel the same way. Well, I mean, the obvious answer is Elizabeth. It's still something that we deal with in modern day.
Hi, everyone. I would like to welcome Amanda Wong today. Thank you so much, Amanda, for being here.
Hello. Thank you for having me. And hello to Hearties all out there.
Amanda plays Mei Sou Hickam on When Calls the Heart. So I'm so glad that you could be here today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's do a little bit of history lesson on how, let's start with Mei and Mike. So
Okay.
how Mei and Mike came to be. We know that Mei joined us in Hope Valley in season 9. And for reasons that we won't go into, things did not work out with the Mountie. But there was some spark that worked with Mei and Mike. So would you say that it was one of those situations where the writers or those producing saw something between Mei and Mike, or was it like, hey, let's dream up this idea and see if there's anything there? What do you think?
You know, Amanda had no clue of what was going on there, but Ben, who plays Mike Hickam, he knew. He could see what was going on from a mile away, and of course he can, because he's been on the show for as from the very beginning. But I didn't know that they were trying to pair us up, and it happened at there was like some sort of gathering. I think it was a barbecue or something like that, and we're doing tug of war, and Mike and Mei were on the same team. And then there's the picnic, and we're sitting next to each other, and we're both kind of like disappointed that the Mountie was going to be spending time with Dr. Faith, who was at the time Mike's crush. So I think the writers saw an opportunity to put the kind of solo people who didn't get paired up with the people that they wanted to be with together, and that became an opportunity to really see both these characters go in a very different direction from the way that they've normally acted. So for Mei, she was always quite serious and mysterious and stern and kind of reserved, whereas Mike, he was always kind of unlucky in love, and he had a few crushes and none of them panned out, both who ended up being my roommates at one point. But yeah, it was really nice to see how that blossomed. And what was really nice about that is, in those examples with Fiona and with Faith, he was always the one who was chasing, and he was kind of in an insecure, disadvantaged position. Whereas with Mei, what really brought us together was the singing moment, where they're singing in the choir, and he was leading her, and he was teaching her how to sing, and you really saw Mike as a confident individual who's really secure. And because I think what was interesting here is he wasn't, I guess, having a crush and letting it get to his head. There was an ability for him just to be kind of calm and at ease, and that made him a more, I don't know, I guess, desirable partner at that point.
Yeah. And I think even this season, we saw that a little bit, that connection that Mike and Mei had when Mike was up on stage trying out for the importance of earnest. And Mei is that, even though a bit nervous, you could tell that still, that calming presence in the, trying to make that connection, verbalizing the words at the same time. I mean, you saw that there was that connection even there in that moment, which was pretty sweet. So
yeah, it was nice. I think that in this season, what was really kind of highlighted to me was the change in our roles too. How does Mei act as someone's wife now versus someone's partner? And in season 10, there was a little bit of confusion about whether or not they liked each other, and then there was a little bit of Mike standing her up, and so she was just in a very vulnerable, kind of unstable position, and now she feels much more safe and much more secure with him. And when it came to the importance of being earnest, and other aspects where with Maisie, or even with Mike's kind of the way he was navigating his relationship with the contention between Lucas and Coulter.
Lee.
I don't know why I was thinking Coulter Shaw. Is that another character? Oh, that's the character, another character in another show's name. I was like, that's confusing me for a second. But then also Shaw and Coulter. Anyway, when she was navigating that their friendship,
Yeah.
then Mei also took a role as like the pillar in his life. And I think that was also kind of mirrored in this moment with the importance of being earnest, where she just wanted to support him. I don't even know if she was a part of the play prior to them all getting sick, or she was just there to help
Yeah.
him with his lines,
Yeah.
but she knew all of the lines. And
Yeah.
so when, in a way, when she was understudying for him,
Yes.
she ends up doing the play in his stead. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was
It was
nice to
cute.
see that dynamic kind of
Yeah.
play out and have a full circle moment.
Yeah. Their relationship, we've seen relationships on One Calls the Heart that take a very long time.
Yes.
And then we've seen others that are not. And in this case, Mike and Mei hit it off right from the beginning.
Hmm.
A short courtship,
Yes.
talking about that wedding, which was absolutely gorgeous. So kudos
Thank
to
you.
Sarah Maberly and her team. Can you talk about like what input you had in that to really kind of
Hmm.
celebrate Mei's heritage?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we had the one of our date scenes, so Mike and May's relationship, I don't really know what the exact timeline is. We only have at 5 months they shared their first kiss. That's
Yeah.
all we know. And then
Yeah.
shortly after we were married
Yeah.
because of certain circumstances.
Yeah.
Now, when it came to that dinner that May had prepared for Mike,
Mhm.
I'd input in the outfit a little bit because I was wearing a traditional Chinese outfit. However, the traditional Chinese outfits that we see these days are short sleeved and they have a more fitted kind of skirt silhouette. But back in the early 1920s and before, it was kind of more flared and the sleeves were longer. And so my grandmother also is, I didn't know this because I was born and raised in Canada, but I showed her some dresses and she's like, you can't use certain flowers because it represents different things for certain times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so what was really nice is my grandmother actually had input on the dress that I ended up wearing for that scene. So Barbara had sent me a few photos and was like, "Please ask your grandmother if these are appropriate." And my grandma's like, "Yeah, these are fine." And so I ended up wearing a mint green dress that was very nice, and I
Mhm.
just felt like set deck just did such a beautiful job with
Yeah.
all the lanterns and the
Mhm.
color being so different from the rest of Hope Valley made it a very, I think, interesting to observe kind of scene. And then
Mhm.
it was mirrored again in our wedding, I think, with the same lanterns, and then we had the drums and also the dresses, the hairpiece. I had a little bit of say, not entirely. I mean, the team is just so good that
They do their
someone.
homework. They really do.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And they hired a wedding a specialist for Chinese traditional weddings. So then they had an idea of what was going, because all I know from it is the kind of modern adapted version. I don't know what it was like back in the 20s. And I had sent the coordinators and wardrobe a picture of my great grandmother in her wedding dress.
Mhm.
And at the time, she wore a white gown, which is because she grew up in Shanghai and she was from a quite wealthy family. And so her dress was more modern and kind of more like globalized kind of. She had a tradition, like a kind of, the big fancy wedding gown, and her husband, my great grandfather, was in a tuxedo. And so that isn't exactly what we were looking for in terms of the tone for this wedding, of course. But it was just kind of nice to see. And there was an option to have a white veil with the Chinese dress. And I said, I think it might distract. So
Yeah.
I would prefer if we just did the red. And our hairstylist, Sandeep Mann, she put a lotus in my hair because
Mm.
it was harkening back to my grandmother's name, my great
Oh.
grandmother's name or something like that. So I was like, that's such a small, beautiful detail that I would
Yes.
never have thought
Yes.
about. But they
Yeah.
really created a moment for me, and I really, really appreciate
Yeah.
that.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool because, unless you're doing, something like this where you can share those details
Yeah.
or, some sort of an outlet like that, we're not always going to know as
Hmm.
viewers all of the details that really go into making it special. And so
Right.
just the fact that they even do that for you guys as actors,
Totally.
just to really make you feel a part of that, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, and I was talking to the writers and I said if we had time, which we obviously didn't have time, but if we had time, one of the things I really wanted to share with the audience is our Chinese traditions for weddings are actually so much fun. There are a lot of games that we make the
Uh-huh.
groom, like the bridesmaids will make the groom kind of participate in order to see his bride, like kind of like a rite of passage. So
Uh-huh.
they're just like a series of games and
Yeah.
bribing, all these
Yes.
different things that the men would have to participate in too. So his groomsmen would have to, like, if for example the challenges between the four of you, you have to do a combined 100 push-ups or something. Then each
Hmm.
of them will have to split 25 each, and then there would be other things like you have to do a limbo under a stick or something. You know what I mean? They're just
Uh-huh.
like little
Yeah.
games that are meant to be silly and would have been fun for like just like the livening the atmosphere. But I think that for the pair of them being a more quick wedding and him disappearing as Mike does,
Yes.
it was quite perfect because the main point of it was to gather everyone together, to be there, and to bring May's brother Bo to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
wedding.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so in a way, it was quite perfect for the pair of them.
Yeah. Which was executed so beautifully when
Hmm.
she's, frantic, wondering what's going on. And then all of a sudden we hear the beating of the drums
Right.
and she goes out and sees that Mike is bringing the community along
Hmm.
with the drums. And so this has been, we know that When Calls the Heart is really good about callbacks. And
Right.
sometimes as Hearties, we dream those up. And then in other times we hear, oh, you caught it. Like it's like they're planted there. And there was a lot of talk because that was the last episode of season
Right.
11. And
Hmm.
then in the first episode of season 12, at the very beginning, we pick right up where we left off, and Nathan and Elizabeth kind of let Bill know in their own way that they're now together.
Yeah.
And Nathan makes the comment, what can I say? We march to our own drum. So, was that a callback to Mike and May at all, or just coincidence?
Honestly, I like to think it was because sometimes the writers like to like sprinkle these things in and also in the script, and I think the moment was very palpable where when May and Mike see each other at the wedding, there's a look that's exchanged between Elizabeth and Nathan too, where
Yeah,
they also feel secure in their
yeah,
relationship and they
yeah.
kind of sink into it as well. So maybe that is a deliberate thing. I have no idea, but it was very wisely done and yeah, it was quite, yeah, it's nice to
Well,
have.
and we also, yeah, it was, and because they were so close. I mean, and
Uh-huh.
between seasons, but this was one of those seasons, unlike last season, which I think was about 5 months apart, where we
Right.
literally picked right
Pick
back
up.
up.
Yeah,
And so it made sense for that to be on Nathan's mind, right?
for sure,
So
definitely.
we also wonder if that comment, we march to our own drum, is going to come back up later in the season. You got any insight on that?
There are no drums being beat towards the end of the season, I don't think. But who knows about next season? If we start a band, you can
There
never
you
tell with
go.
Hope Valley. Yeah, we had a choir start up. We now have like a radio show. We're doing plays. We're doing everything.
We're
Starting
doing
a
it
band
all.
is not out of the question.
Nobody needs to go to Union City or Benson Hills anymore.
Yeah,
Hope
no,
Valley's got it all.
exactly.
So Mike and May come back to Hope Valley in episode
Right.
2,
Hmm.
and we hear all about their crazy honeymoon. What's interesting that stood out to a lot of Hearties is that Mike and May chose to take their honeymoon in Chicago. So
Yes,
with May's
true.
history, did you find
Right.
that interesting?
Yeah, that is a very interesting point. And funnily enough, I didn't even think about it until you brought it up. I think Amanda didn't really know where we went. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
we went somewhere and
yeah,
it was bad. And
yeah,
then later on, it was not bad
yeah.
because we were dancing there. And
Yes.
so then that's when I realized we were actually in Chicago. I think the reason why it was Chicago is because firstly, where is elusive Hope Valley? We don't even know where it
No.
is geographically.
It moves
However,
around too, I feel like.
exactly. But wherever it is, it has to be close enough to San Francisco, to Toronto,
Yes, yes.
to Chicago, to Union City, to just Cape Fullerton,
Hamilton, Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Yes.
So I think that the reason why we set or the writers had written that we went to Chicago is because it has to be somewhere that's accessible in 1920 by
Yeah.
train
Yes.
for these people. And sure, there was like history there, but I think there was like probably nowhere else these two probably could go.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really
Yeah.
vacation to a lot of places,
Yeah.
and hopefully, Jeffrey Lewis, May's fake ex-husband, is off somewhere else with his with
Yeah.
his other fake wives. I don't know.
Nowhere near Chicago. And
Exactly.
if Mike and May are the ones that are bringing the Charleston back to Hope Valley, a lot of time those trends, those fads would have been going east to west. So
Yeah.
Chicago makes sense. So
Totally, totally. And aside from Jeffrey, May does also have friends there. She grew
that's
up in
true.
that area and went to school there. So it would probably be a very nice opportunity for her then to have introduced her friends to Mike. And maybe that's when they all went dancing. Not
There
the
you go.
food poisoning part, but the other part.
Well, and hey, they lost their luggage. So
Yes.
so maybe it will show back up. It'll be near her home. Somebody can ship it out. It's all good, right?
Totally, totally. I had said to Ben, I was like, wouldn't it be funny if we were still in our wedding outfits? He's like, no. And I was like, but wouldn't it be so funny if like, it was stained with sweat and he's like, no, we do not have to do
Oh
that on
man.
TV.
Oh
And yeah, he
man.
was like, we're not trying to be dirty, gross honeymooners here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
So shifting gears just a little bit, talking about
Mhm.
Mike and May, but
Yeah.
Mike and May are also really good. They are really good friends
Uh-huh.
to the people around them.
Yeah.
And we were pleasantly surprised in episode 5 when Fiona came back to town.
Right. Hmm.
And we got to see that really neat moment where she's sitting alone, and here's May and Faith coming, and just that special time where they were able to be together. So, what was that like?
Oh, I think that was, as much as it was scripted, it was very real for the
Yeah.
three of us because for season 10 and a portion of 11, but mostly season 10, Faith, May, and Fiona had spent a lot of time together. They were living together as
Mhm.
roommates. They, girl chat and not talking about Nathan, even
No.
though it's just funny because it's like Fiona, which is Kayla's real life husband, and then
Mhm.
there's our TV boyfriend, pseudo
Mhm.
date, whatever. So it's just a funny kind of situation for us to be in. But you know, Fiona and Faith are really May's best friends in probably that universe, but also especially in Hope Valley. And it's obvious because they spend a lot of time having heart to hearts. Every time May has a problem with Mike, who's she talking to? The pair of them.
Yeah.
When it's actually really interesting. I think a lot of the conversations romantically are with Faith, and a lot of the interpersonal relationships are with Fiona.
Mm.
So when May talks to her about not feeling like she belongs or she doesn't know how to navigate the face mask situation because she doesn't feel like she knows enough about it and she's
Yeah.
not an expert and she doesn't know how the tourists would think. It's Fiona who's comforting her,
Mhm.
and just individually and together, the three of them have had a lot of serious heart to hearts and just grown and bonded a lot in their relationships. And so when Fiona comes into town, um, it's not dissimilar to how we feel about Kayla because Kayla is now like working on other things
Mhm.
and she's not in our town as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And as much as we want her to be, we want her to obviously fulfill all the things that she's meant to do, and she's a rising star. And even in the script we say, you're just meant for so much more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and so while there's a little bit of sadness that she's not with us all the time, there's also a lot of
Mhm.
happiness and hope. And I think that um, Fiona and Faith have a really beautiful connection there where they're talking about the man who doesn't even have a name. And I think that May comes in as the one who is now married of the three of them, and she sees that like married life, especially with an unnamed man, may not be exactly Fiona's destiny. However, if whatever decision she decides, I think friends are like this too. It's like you're going to tell them your opinion, but if they've made a choice, you're not going to just belabor and harbor and kind of just harp on them and make them feel bad about the choices that they've made. You're just going to support at the end and kind of we'll deal with what we have in front of us and we'll make the best situation. So
Yeah.
when she makes the decision to get married, that's when, despite how hurt Faith looks, May's like, well, then congratulations. If this is truly the choice you've made, then
Yeah.
we're just here. We're gonna support you as best as we can. We've told you what we think, and then it's at the end of the day, it's your choice. And
Yeah.
so then when we have that barber shop scene where Mr. Winkler has sold the barber shop, there's like the feelings that Mei is feeling in front of Fiona and when Fiona isn't looking. So before she walks into the barber shop, there's like a moment where she has to gather herself and like be happy for her friend. And then when the phone call is happening, there's also that same feeling where she's processing her own feelings. But then the choice is made. It's sold. There's nothing you can do about it. And then so then Mei puts on a happy face and she's like, well then, a new chapter begins for you. And I think that is super true to how real friendships and dynamics are. And so it was very easy to play it when we genuinely feel those things
Mhm.
for each other, and
Yeah.
especially for Kayla.
Yeah. It was very on this side of it. We felt that. We felt um, in a couple of different ways. We felt the connection between May and Faith and Fiona and just
Hmm.
how special that friendship is. But at the same time, anybody that's following, what Kayla's doing now, even the words that were said, it was like we see what's
Yeah,
going on here, right? We're saying two different things at this, and we're saying
absolutely.
the same thing.
Yeah,
So and I think it kind of that actually made it kind of extra special.
yeah,
Knowing that there was so much care put into those little moments with her. So
for sure. And I think also what's really beautiful about that is I think that in the show and also in real life, like Kayla always has a home with us
yeah,
in Hope Valley at When Calls, and
yeah,
so that's something that was very much, I think, like emphasized
yeah,
on and off screen.
yeah.
And so yeah, and so we don't doubt that we're going to see more of Kayla and Fiona with time. But then there's also like with the barbershop being sold and with Lily moving into Fiona's room, then it's like, does Fiona then feel like she doesn't have a place? But
Mm,
then we hammer home that you always have a place with us, as
yeah,
is very Hope
yeah.
Valley. So,
And so when we're talking about all of these towns and where are they, we can assume that Port Townsend, which is where Fiona is now, we're going to cross our fingers that it's pretty close to Hope Valley so she can
yeah,
come back whenever she wants, right?
everything is close. We don't know where we are, but we're close to everything.
It's that bullet high-speed train that's
Exactly.
leaving in and out of Hope Valley now, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So another moment that we just got to watch was when Edie and Lucas
Right.
decided to have a working dinner at the cafe, and nobody was there. Mike and Mei forgot that they were on duty.
Right.
Um, which was hysterical to see them outside and then enter, and you guys kind of mumble and fake your way through it. So can you talk a little bit about that? And then I've got a really like important question related to candles, because we like to talk about candles in Hope Valley. So
Okay. Okay. Um. Yeah. We totally forgot. I don't know what else to say about that. We definitely forgot. We're coming from somewhere. We Ben and I were on a kind of like a funny tangent. I think we just really love making the crew laugh. I don't know where it fuels Ben. It literally is his favorite
like a
thing.
game. It's like a
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
Yeah.
not even a game he doesn't take seriously. He's very serious about it. His goal is to get as many laughs as he can. Like, and even though we're saying the same things over and over again, he's trying to get a laugh every single time he says the same things. So sometimes we'll do a scene, and because he's obviously the kind of silly, goofy,
Yeah.
funny guy,
Yeah.
um we're rehearsing and the crew will start laughing and I'll just look over and I'm like, you live for this. He's like, I live for this. And it gives him so much joy. And
Mhm.
that reminds me of something Aaron had said on an Instagram post. It was that Ben takes care of them and he makes the world laugh, and what more
Yeah.
can we ask for? And I, as his fake TV wife, I feel the
Yeah.
same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's wonderful. And so his idea when we're coming in, it was to so we just ad-lib different things every time we came in. And sometimes I would just say random things. I'd be like, 500,000? And then we'd have to start the scene. And he was like, what is that even about? I was like, I don't know. And then so he said something, no, you're cute. And that's the one that ended up being used. And then in another version, he was like, he'd asked Siobhan, who was our director of that episode, he's like, can we eat ice cream? And she's like, why would you be eating ice cream? He's like, no, I just think it'd be cool. And then we can give them the ice cream, and then they'd be like, it's like melting and they're eating. And then Siobhan's like, no. There's like another like scene somewhere else, and he's like, can we eat? And then he's like, she's like, Ben, no ice cream. I'm like, nice. You gotta stop with this. She's gonna get mad at you. And then but we first walked in and we'd first done a rehearsal. We kind of took it too far. We were really goofy in that scene, and then Siobhan's like, okay, maybe we need to dial it back. And then we stepped aside and we're like, this scene's not about us. It's just it's about those two, and we're comedic relief. But we pared it down a little bit, and we just tried to like make the best out of the situation, which was pickles and old bread and chicken.
Yeah. Drumsticks, right?
Yeah.
So they were having a good moment. They were trying to cover themselves. Mei's in the back making something while Mike is pretending to take an order and doesn't even know what the special is. But when they deliver the food, they set a candle, a lit candle down on the table. So is that standard protocol for a cafe dinner at night, or were Mike and Mei picking up on something that there may be a little something going on between Edie and Lucas?
I know it's not protocol, because I think that in any other scene at the cafe in the evening, there are no candles. However, right? Yeah. However, to think that the two of them had that much awareness of the situation, I think it's giving them too much credit. I think they were just scrambling at that point. They didn't know what they were doing. They're just grabbing anything from the back, and they're like, here. And if the candle had knocked over, that would have been disastrous. I don't even know why they brought in a candle.
Maybe the candle was like, when you're trying to salvage something, you're trying to like overcompensate. Totally. Maybe the candle was trying to overcompensate for all of the leftovers that they were serving, and the chicken drumsticks also, right?
You know what? I think the leftover situation didn't feel to me as though it was that bad. It was kind of just, we're gonna do like some sort of tasting menu, but it was Mike who gave it away and said they're leftovers and old bread, but it could have been like, we're having a picnic. If Mei was doing this on her own, it'd be like, here's the spread for the evening, picnic style tasting menu, but then Mike is like, day old bread and old chicken, and so she's like, desert squab, trying to like fancy up whatever leftovers they had.
Well, and maybe, just the fact that, Lucas, who has tended in the past to do dinners that are a bit more formal and all of that, this is an opportunity to kind of like define something a bit different with Edie. We can just pretend that that's part of it as well, right? That it was planned all along.
Yeah. Or it could just have been that because, as you said, Lucas is a little fancier. This was their attempt to fancy up a dinner for him because he's one of the richest people in town.
Yeah. So we've been through 9 episodes so far this season. What would you say has been your favorite moment for Mei?
For Mei, her favorite moment. There is a choreographed dance that Mike and Mei did that was cut out.
I know.
And I would say that was probably one of the highlights. Other than that, I also think the other dance scene with Elizabeth and Rosemary was really, really fun. I really enjoyed that. I think any scene with Kayla has been also fun, just because we don't get to see Kayla much, so we want to see her, and that's always enjoyable. And the importance of being earnest was super fun, because we just had a lot of the cast members together at once, and in the first half of the season we didn't have as many group scenes, and so to have everyone together to eat popcorn outside and just to just have meals together again was just reminiscent of Hope Valley, but also reminiscent of our Hope Valley, what we like to do, and we like to have like lunches with each other and things, and we don't get to do that if we don't see each other as frequently, but that was one of the episodes where we really got to gather and break bread together and spend time.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So you're an actor on the show, but I imagine you're a fan as well. So do you have a favorite storyline that's maybe not May's that you're enjoying
Yeah.
watching this season?
I feel like watching the Canfields this season has
Mm.
been heart-wrenching.
Oh
My
yeah.
goodness, their
Yeah.
scenes have been so deep, but also so loving and so fun. I've been really enjoying the dancing, like,
Hmm.
you know, Viv dancing with Natasha and Viv
Yeah.
dancing with his daughter Vienna. I watch those scenes sometimes and I'm like, man, this is just like such good content for their life, you know? Like to
Yeah.
have these moments with your daughter, to be able to dance with her on a television show, it's just
Hmm.
like so sweet, and
Yeah.
it's really touching for me to see, especially since I love the family, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's just been very nice. I think that storyline, while difficult to tell, has been executed very beautifully, and it's a kind of a tough topic
Hmm.
to talk
Hmm.
about, the disadvantages Angela has being blind, and her wanting to break free and be an independent person, and Minnie's struggle with that. It's something that I'm sure many people relate
Hmm.
to when the children leave the nest.
Hmm.
So that's one of my favorites. I also really love a good, like, kind of masquerade or like fake identity story. So when they went to that Gatsby party and they were Diane, and
Yeah.
well, I just love that, and the
Yeah.
way it was shot was so cool, and it was all in the church.
I know. Isn't that
Can you believe
crazy?
that? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Crazy.
yeah, it's a
More
huge testament to set deck and costumes.
more amazing magic. Yeah. The I got to listen yesterday to Viv and Vienna and Natasha with the Hearties admin. And, we know that Vienna has shared when she first, was thinking about this part, just
Hmm.
feeling that, you know,
Hmm.
oh, and just watching her yesterday and hearing, and I believe feeling the impact that that storyline, even this season, has had on people. You could tell that it really touched her to
Yeah,
know that she and Viv and Natasha, that whole storyline has really impacted a lot of people. So
yeah.
um, it's always fun to watch a good story, but it's so much better when it just really touches your heart. And so to see it even touch hers, I think has been pretty special to watch.
Absolutely. It's been such a blessing for me to witness some of the kids like grow up. I've
Hmm.
been there for 4 years now,
Yeah, yeah,
and to firstly see Elias sprout like a weed, that he's so tall now and his
I
voice is
know.
changing, it's bizarre. But to see Vienna like mature into this beautiful young woman, and she's so mature and so
Yeah,
empathetic and
yeah,
just a lovely, lovely woman now. And yeah, it's just she's a really good person.
yeah. And I know we got a little bit more to come with that, with the
Hmm.
graduation
Yes.
and a nice surprise for Minnie in episode 12. So that'll
Yes.
that'll be neat.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
very beautiful moment.
Yeah, so we're
Hmm.
excited to see that. Hope Valley has certainly had an impact on May. What
Hmm.
would you say has been the biggest way the town has changed her?
I would say I think it all started in season 10, when Fiona and May had that conversation about her being, you come as you are and we welcome you and you are one of ours, right? I think
Mhm.
that was the first moment that she started to kind of like let her guard down. And because when she first came in, it was guards up, very mysterious, very reserved, and there's not a lot of there's a little bit of frustration in the emotions, but she wasn't really silly or showing an erratic side or anything. But then it started to creep out her insecurities, her vulnerabilities, insecurities when it came to the face mask and not being Asian enough, and insecurities when it came to like performing in front of everybody and like, finally having a voice. I think that's quite metaphorical,
Yeah,
just as long
yeah,
as you just believe. It's a very then the voice, the song will come, or whatever it was. But yeah, I think that the biggest change that May has experienced in Hope Valley is just this acceptance. And I think, don't we all want that? I think that's
oh
why
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of us are fans of the show. It just makes us feel like there's a place where we belong, and also a community we belong in.
yeah,
The Hearties just really do care about each other, even though there's some tension at times, but they do really are committed to like the feeling of community.
Yeah. And we know when she came in episode 9, it was hard for her to be honest, even with Nathan, about what she had been through. So to hear in 10
Totally.
that you can just be you, right?
Yeah. Because I mean, even in the beginning, there was like, who is this? Who's your husband? Aren't you married? What about Mr. Lewis? Right. And so
Yeah.
there was a lot of like a feeling of judgment and non acceptance. So when it came later on, it was that much, I guess, kind of like more heartwarming for her.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We know that When Calls the Heart is great at incorporating actors' real life skills. We got to see that even
Yeah.
this season. I mean, even with Natasha being able to use
Right.
her natural voice, right? And we've
Mhm.
seen plenty of singing in the past, and Mei is in the choir. But are there any interests or skills that you have that Hope Valley, that When Calls the Heart has not tapped into, that you would like to see integrated into Mei's storyline?
Ooh, um, I always think about it this way. I always try to like develop skills that may be of use one day to them, and it feels like almost like a backward way of like I have this skill. I'm thinking in terms of what if I get this skill so we can use it.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of martial arts when I was young. I don't think that we're going to become a fight anything. Uh, However, I just started this new thing where I'm spinning like a staff, like a really
Oh yeah.
long stick.
Yeah.
And so I can twirl it, I can do some figure eights, I can roll it over my hands now, I can swap hands and flick it into my other hand and catch it and stuff.
Nice.
So I just started that. It's only been a month, and I've been doing only 1 month. It's not a lot, but I think it'd be fun if we could incorporate that if I got to a point where I was good enough. Um, in like I don't know, I just imagine like a situation where I think that there's a robber and then I grab the broom.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just a random thought. I've not even told the writers about this.
hmm
So
Well, I
yeah.
was going to go the parade route, and you were going to be like throwing the baton in the parade.
Yes.
But I like your idea a whole lot better.
I'm fighting up. And it's actually Mike. I bet you it's going to be a situation where it's like, I think it's an intruder, but it's Mike.
Oh, yeah. That's even better. That's
Yeah.
even
So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Now, we know that Mei and Mike have to make a mad dash out of
Right.
town. Are we
Right.
going to get any more Mei on a horse? Because we know
No,
you've
but
got
I
some.
wish I want to do more horse stuff.
That'd
Yeah.
be the perfect opportunity, right?
Yeah, for sure. Another
Yeah.
skill I'd want to do is well, I mean, I was also a competitive swimmer growing up and I was like,
Oh,
wouldn't it be
yeah.
cool if but I don't think we're ever going to do a swimming
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
could you do like synchronized swimming in the hot springs or something, right?
those hot springs are so tiny, but maybe. Or yeah, I don't know. I don't know, like a rescue, but I doubt that's gonna happen. And it wouldn't happen with May, that's for sure. I don't think May
No.
is the one who's doing it. But yeah. We do see us leaving the town and we do come back. But I am not on a horse, I'm on a train, I believe, an
Mm,
overnight train.
okay. That
Yeah.
high, that
That
zippity,
high
zippity
speed across
train.
the world. I don't know where we're going, across continents, wherever we are.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we know that. So here's that hypothetical. Rosemary's got a great radio show going on right now, and we know that May dabbles in a bunch of different things. Has got some great skills when it comes to job professions, all of the things. So if May had a segment on Rosemary's radio show, what would her segment be called, and what would she talk about?
Ooh, what would honestly, I've been really enjoying what they've been doing with the radio so far. I
Yeah.
think that the baseball has that happened yet?
We know.
Okay. I was like,
You're
did I
good.
answer that differently?
It's in the episode guide, so you're safe.
Okay. Very cute. I think that also the importance of being earnest was a very fun storyline. What would May talk about? I don't know what she would talk about. I guess what does she like to do? Her and Mike. Well, she used to like to read. I think that's one of the things that Mike and her bonded ish over. He
Mhm,
lied, but
mhm.
she's like over a good book. Maybe she would have like the first audio book, like late
Okay.
night reading a novel.
Yeah.
reading Elizabeth's novel with her. Podcast, maybe she should podcast with Elizabeth the novel. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I feel like talking about the pharmacy or ice cream or face masks is not really like a hit topic, but yeah, we'll see.
Not gonna cut it.
Yeah, maybe not.
Well, she could do the book, and then Mike could be like she's the narrator, and he does, since he's so good at the accents, he could be like, the fill-in of
Mike
it.
would do too much with that. Did you see him at the auditions? Come on, he would do too much.
So we've got 3 episodes left.
Yes.
We know some things already that are in the episode guides. Plus, we've gotten a few sneak peeks in some upcoming trailers. But we know that Hickam and Mei are
Yeah.
throwing a harvest festival for the town on Sunday night. Would you say, is there a significance behind this, or is this more of a long-standing community tradition, like a Thanksgiving style that we would do here in the States?
Right. So, one of the things that the writers and I spoke about was they were asking me what kind of holidays and things we celebrate, and one of the big ones for us is Chinese New Year, and it's not even the day that's the most important; it's the eve that's the most important.
Mm.
The day or the day after, it's not a mandatory dinner, but the eve is the mandatory dinner at my house. And so we would take all of the tables in the family house and make one long table that stretched from the kitchen to the dining room, and then we get all the chairs from all over the house. So at some point you're pulling out the piano bench and
Oh, yeah.
the step stools and the swivel computer chairs and the
Mhm.
ottomans, and everyone's sitting on mismatched chairs, and our family has grown quite a lot, so we usually have about 35 people
Mhm.
at dinner.
That's awesome.
And yeah, usually it's my grandmother who makes the dinner, and now it's my grandmother and my mom who makes it. And there are always specific types of food that we eat. There's We eat prawns because prawn in Chinese or shrimp in Chinese is ha, which is like a homonym for like laughter, right? So like ha ha. So you eat like shrimp, so you're laughing into the new year, and then
Yeah.
there's like other different types of foods that are homonyms for other things, and things that look like different things, like you want to eat like spring rolls because it looks like gold ingots and stuff like that. and
Mhm.
and so we do that, and we do a bunch of different. I think my mom makes almost 10 different things, and she triples them, so it's 10, 10, 10. So in front of everyone is 10 different ish things. And there's this one tradition that we actually only started doing recently, but it's an old tradition, but it's not from where we're from, but we do it anyway. It's this huge kind of salad, and everyone puts their chopsticks in before we start eating, and then you just kind of mix this huge salad together. It's
Mhm.
got all sorts of wonderful different random things. I don't even know when we started doing it, but we only started within the last 5 years or so. But the idea is like the higher you toss, the more fortune you get.
Mm.
So there's just a lot of fun traditions, and then
Yeah.
you offer tea and well wishes the next day. There are a lot of like famous like sayings. There's long madings, and it's a very popular one. We say it's having the strength of a dragon and a horse, and you're like wishing someone like vitality. Or you go like sang yi hinglong is like I hope your business is very prosperous. If you are talking to someone who's young and they're in school, you don't have to offer them tea, but you tell them like hot yi junbo, which means hopefully your education and your schooling you do well on that. and
Yeah.
and so it's just like a lot of like well wishes being passed back and forth, and you eat snacks and you get lucky money, and it's just like a really fun environment. So I had told them about our Chinese New Year traditions, and they're like, "Do you do it in the fall?" And I'm
Can we
like,
fit it in right
"Yeah,
here?
exactly." And I was like, "Well, no, it's usually like a Lunar New Year thing, so January, February." And then they're like, "Do you do anything in the fall?" And I said, "Well, there's like a Mid-Autumn festival, and then you eat like moon cakes, and you look at the moon, and there's like a beautiful love story about." Actually, it's not that beautiful. It's an old one of like the great fables, but it's like about like a goddess and a farmer, and then they're like for one day a year, the magpies make a bridge, and then they meet for one night of the year, and then they kind of go their separate ways again.
Yeah.
So it's not that romantic. It's kind of sad. But anyway, this is one of the great stories of China.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I was like, "There's this, we look at the moon, there we have lanterns, we look at the moon, we eat different types of foods, and mooncakes being one of them, and then there's like a meal you're supposed to eat with your family, and then they're
Mm-hmm.
like, great, we're gonna use that."
There you go. There we
Yeah,
go.
and then yeah, and around the harvest time, there's like everyone celebrates a harvest together with people, and it's there's the Scottish Gaelic, and I think there's just different ones. I think there's like moon spell cookies, and then there's the moon cakes, and just different holiday, Thanksgiving, obviously.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel like every culture, every ethnicity, people just in general enjoy getting together with their loved
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
And when it was around the time of agriculture, it's when harvest time is. Yeah,
Well, good. I'm glad that they found a way to fit that in. We always like when Hope Valley gets together and has a
totally,
big old
totally.
meal and pulls up all the piano benches, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that's episode 10. And in episode 11, we know that little Jack falls ill
Ah,
and that Hickam and Mei have a special part to play in that, and that they race
mhm,
to secure medicine.
yes.
Does Mei immediately know what will help little Jack?
So, is it giving it away if I were to tell you a little bit about it? Well, I'll just say it. May is a pharmacist.
Yeah.
So the reason why May also goes is because May has she read about it in
Yeah.
one of the pharmacy journals,
Yeah.
and it's very, very new. And what's really lovely about this is it was invented by two people in Toronto.
Yeah.
So that story is actually timely in the
Yeah.
Hope Valley timeline, and One Calls Heart timeline, which isn't that common because there's like wars and things like that we don't discuss, or like
Right. Right.
illnesses
Right.
and things.
Yeah.
But this one we do discuss it, and it's also very timely in the sense that it's still something that we deal with in modern day, which is
Yeah.
cool. And May reads about this in one of the academic journals, and it's very new. And at the time, the illness that little Jack has is something that could be a life sentence.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
life or death, and so everyone is incredibly sad about that, obviously. And we, I think, on One Calls to Heart, don't touch on a lot of serious topics because this is something that we know our audience really enjoys to like relax to, and so sometimes serious topics can be just the opposite of that. And
Mm-hmm.
so but I do think this is a really strong and important storyline. Isn't something that we know about, and it's new, and it's the only thing that gives everyone a little bit of hope. But I think with that, as the person who's bringing everyone hope, you also don't want to disappoint everyone.
Right.
And so
Right.
there's a lot of weight that May is experiencing from being the bearer of the news, and also
Mm-hmm.
having to execute,
Mm.
and bring whatever it is back.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and we show up to watch this show because for a lot of us, it's an escape from, the 9 to 5 work week, plus
that,
just the fact that it's built such a community for us. But at the same time, we watch it because as period drama 1920 as it is, we look for those moments that we can relate to it. And
mhm,
sometimes that means dealing with things, when you think about this situation, but then even when you look back at what the storyline with Angela, it's so
yeah,
important to have those moments that you've got that opportunity to connect with your audience in situations that are still very real and valid today even.
absolutely, absolutely.
So we
Yeah.
like the lighthearted, but we also like the that connection too.
Yeah, well, be prepared for some tears, I would say, coming up.
We've heard, Natasha shared the other day, maybe 2 boxes. We might need a box and then we might need another box. So we
Yeah,
know that.
Yeah.
And several of us were in Kansas City at the Hallmark Christmas experience, and Erin had shared Life or Death, and then she quickly, because
Ooh.
the whole audience goes, and
Yeah.
she quickly was like, but life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Kevin had shared in an interview that what Little Jack experiences is very timely to that
Yeah.
time period. So these are things that we kind of knew. So,
Yeah.
um,
I think
but
piecing all the things together, Hearties are probably
that's
able
what we
to
do.
deduce what it is
That's
that
what
was
we do.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there, 10 was the Harvest Festival, and then 12 is the graduation of
I know.
three of our kids. And so I'm
Yes.
assuming there's some sort of a time jump in there, right?
Yes, there's a time jump. We go from fall to spring.
Okay. Okay. So is that after 11? Is that from 11 to 12?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. From
Well, we
11
were
to
trying to think, does Hope Valley have a very unique graduation program? So,
Yeah, I think that I think yeah, they just needed some time to pass. I think, I think from maybe from the writer's point of view, I think probably they wanted this season to start from May and Mike coming back from their honeymoon, because then
mhm.
otherwise what had happened in between,
Yeah, yeah,
And then there's like a period of time, but then they wanted the season to have the beginning with May and Mike and the continuation of Nathan and Elizabeth's relationship,
yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
yeah,
And but they also wanted there to be a graduation. So I think
yeah.
that's why it was
At some
like
point, there's got to be a time jump, right?
exactly,
That's it.
exactly.
Yeah,
If it, I know it's kind of jarring that it's the last one that the last episode that the time jump happens in, but I think they wanted to probably end the episode somewhere where it can go somewhere
yeah,
else for the
yeah.
next, hopefully season 13.
That's right. Yeah. Set it up, right? That's
Yeah.
that's what we're thinking. So, who is someone that you would say in these last three episodes is really going to be impacted?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer is Elizabeth.
Yeah.
She's gonna be impacted. I think the Canfields will also be impacted. Um, yeah, I think those are the main ones. I think Mike and Mei they're just figuring things out.
Yeah.
They're okay. They're gonna be
Saving the
okay.
day, though. They're saving the day,
They
right?
are they are saving a day. Yes, they are saving the day. Um, yeah, but I think that the most impact obviously would be with Nathan and Elizabeth probably, and probably with Angela and Minnie and Joseph and figuring out what's going to
Yeah.
happen to Angela and whether or not
Yeah.
she's going to go to the Schwartzman school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting for us. So, you likely know how the season ends. So,
Likely.
likely, what is going to be, as a fan, what is going to be our reaction to the last 2 minutes of the finale?
Hmm. I think I think that there's going to be a few emotions that kind of are stirred up in the last episode. I would say there's going to be some feeling of like content. There's going to be some uncertainty. And then, of course, Hope, Hope when calls likes to leave things on a little bit of a cliffhanger. So there's going to be like
Yeah.
that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what,
those are the three.
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, is it maybe it's another roller coaster episode, right? If
It's not,
maybe
yeah, a little bit, but
a
it's not
little
going to
bit.
be like, yeah, it's not going to be so, like last year when you see Shaw and then there's a whole thing. It's not going to be like, it's not that dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just going to be some things that definitely have to be figured out by Elizabeth.
Yeah.
She's got to figure things out.
She's got to get it all figured out, right?
Yeah, of course we have to throw our girl some problems, so she figures things out.
Somehow she always comes out of it okay. So,
Yeah.
so if we get a season 13, do you have any hopes or ideas for May?
I would hopes or ideas for May. I think that I love that May and Mike are both still very much professionals, and their relationship isn't the only thing that they do. So I would love to see the relationship between, I guess I would say, Mei and Faith continue, and potentially with Lily, because as we know it, we are all still upstairs together.
We were trying to figure that out the other day.
Yeah.
I was talking to Natasha and I was like, is everybody really upstairs? And
Yeah.
she kind of did that, like, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe.
Yeah. I think there's so much opportunity for fun there, if
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
if it's just imagining Lily as May and Mike's roommate. It's just so funny to me. I don't know why it's so funny. She's just like the sweetest little girl,
Yeah,
and she's very inquisitive.
yeah.
So
Oh, and we love Chloe. We
she's so
love
cute.
her.
She's so
Yeah,
cute and such a
yeah,
sweet girl.
yeah.
So I adore Chloe as well. I would say I would love to see that interaction. I think that May and Mike, eventually the questions of whether or not they're going to have children are going to spark up. And so it'd be cool to see them just interact with kids to see what
Yeah.
that would
Oh,
look
yeah.
like.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, we'll see what that is. I mean, the only interaction May has with children is a little bit with Lily, and with Allie in season 9.
That's
There
true.
wasn't
Yeah,
much else, right? And
yeah,
then when when Minnie got mad at Cooper and Angela or whatever in the pharmacy that one time.
yeah, yeah,
So there's not a lot. I think the kids hang out at the soda fountain, but May either let someone else serve them, or she's off doing something,
yeah,
say doing one of the other many jobs that they
yeah.
do. But yeah, it'd be nice to interact with the younger Hope Valley residents, and I think that that'd be funny, and also to see them pick up from, just to assemble their lives again would be cool. What happens
Mhm.
after the apartment's fixed? Do they
Yeah,
move out?
yeah.
Did they fix it together? Like, it'd be cool to see all that play out as well.
Which could be, you could take, I mean, it could be very comedic. I mean,
Yeah,
any of that could be very comedic.
yeah,
Throw in some of the heart as well.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
We've got it. Assuming there's a season 13, we know you guys stopped filming in about November. So between
Mhm.
November and let's say July, I imagine, I know with, in my job, I get a little bit of a break and I'm like, I get a little bit eager to go back.
Yeah.
I do like sleeping in the morning and having some good coffee. But so when you're in between filming seasons, what is something you're always eager to get back to when production starts again?
Oh, I just love seeing the people, because I still see some of our one calls people.
Yeah.
I Natasha, Andrea and I we're organizing a hangout when Andrea comes back from celebrating her
Yay.
recent birthday.
Yeah.
Yes. And I saw Rothgar just a few days ago. I see Viv and Natasha and the Leacock kids sometimes for
Yeah.
the holidays and various birthdays, and also random movie nights. And so I just love seeing our people, and that's the thing that brings me the most joy. It feels like you're going to summer camp,
Yeah.
and you're like the same summer camp. It's like when in Parent Trap Lindsay
Yeah.
Lohan goes to that thing,
Yes.
that summer camp. It's like that, and you spend a lot of time with the same people, and then you look forward to going back the next year. And it's that environment. The crew is pretty much the same, and it's just a really great set and workplace to be at. So I think we all really look forward to coming back to work and spending time with each other.
It's almost like a family, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Family. Yeah. This one's a hard pressing question because Ben has recently been bragging about how good he is at fixing grilled cheese because the talk of the season has been why all of a sudden are grilled cheese so popular in Hope Valley? So hard pressing question. Have you ever had one of Ben Rosenbaum's grilled cheese sandwiches?
I have not. I didn't even know he was good at making grilled cheeses.
He's
We had
he's he's bragging about it, so I'm just throwing that one out there.
Okay, I'm gonna make him make me one. But it's funny because we had a grilled cheese truck that came in, and the grilled cheeses from that grilled cheese truck was phenomenal. So I can't imagine Ben
Yeah.
making a better grilled cheese than that.
Yeah.
But hey, if he's saying he can, I don't doubt him. He's got impeccable taste. He like if I go on vacation, he's like, these are the coffee shops you need to hit up. These are the places, these are the rooftops, and I'll just because he put that effort in, I'll try to go
Yeah.
to at least one.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's really, really good at finding nice places to eat or have a nice coffee or snack. So I believe him.
Yeah.
And his style's impeccable. You like it. We don't get to see Mike Hickam the way we see Ben Rosenbaum. He's a very stylish
Got to
man.
see it a little bit at HFR,
Yes,
and he made sure that had you all follow him with that grand entrance.
I know, I know. Yeah, Ben just being
Working the runway right down the
exactly
aisle,
like
right?
he's just getting that all that attention. Yeah, but he
Oh man.
embraces it too. He's like, and I'm going the other way as well.
And we're going to go out the way. We're going to make a big loop, which we loved. So many of you guys stopped and said hi
Yeah,
to people as you were
yeah.
exiting. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we really enjoyed that. We really enjoy meeting everybody
Yeah.
and seeing everybody and taking pictures and answering questions. It's yeah, it's very fun. Like
Yeah.
how is it not fun? We get to talk about the work and the people we enjoy and with people who enjoy what we do and yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap this up with, if you could come up with a word to
Okay.
wrap up the end of the season, what would that
Ooh,
word be?
nerve-wracking.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be the word, I think.
We
But
know that,
life, but life.
but life, nerve-wracking, but life, but
Yeah.
heartbreak, but tissues, right?
Yes. These words that everyone's throwing out does not sound that positive, but life.
But Natasha said good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So we're going to go with that,
Okay.
right? Good
Perfect.
cliffhanger and nerve-wracking
Yeah.
at the same time. But
A little nerve-wracking.
what would When Calls the Heart be without a little bit of nerve-wracking? So
Exactly.
that's what we
Exactly.
keep coming back for,
Yeah.
and all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, Amanda, thank you so much for chatting with me today. It has been so much fun to connect with you, to hear about the season, to learn more about you. And we are crossing our fingers for season 13 and waiting for that announcement soon. Let's hope. So,
Yeah. Let's hope.
yeah.
Thank you so
Congrats
much
on
for
it.
having me, Stephanie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And to all the Hearties, thank you as always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on a good season. And these last 3 episodes we're really excited for. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye.